Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a killer pitch. In fact, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly the methods I used to raise $57 million for Vivino, the world's largest wine app with 32 million users. Interestingly enough, funding and pitching is very much about one single word. One single four-letter word, and if you master that four-letter word, you might just get funded. So stay tuned for that. This is Raw Startup. Look, fundraising can be rough, and I have some true horror stories. And always remember that even people that are very successful in fundraising will get more no's than yes. So you have to get through all those no's to get going. I have a story from a couple of years ago. I secured a meeting with Google Ventures. Amazing, Google Ventures, yes. So they're about an hour from my house. So I thought, I'll leave 2 hours before, did that. On the freeway, off we go. Stuck on the freeway. Major traffic jam, I was going nowhere. So I was sitting there for an hour sweating, knowing that 4 people were waiting for me and just couldn't do anything about it. When I got there, I was 15, 20 minutes late. Nothing worked, couldn't plug in my computer, couldn't get on the big screen, ended up showing the presentation on my laptop, and it all went horribly bad. So obviously we never raised any money from Google Ventures, but that's life. That's life. You will get no's, move on, get over it, there'll be other investors. In order to learn from the mistakes I've made in the past and the lessons I've learned in raising 57 million for Vivino, I've made a 6-step guide to build an amazing pitch deck and also to give you the right mindset when going into a pitch. Step 1, win the first 30 seconds. A lot of people have a great story to tell when they start a pitch, but they make the mistake of building it up over a long time. You cannot do that. You gotta go straight to the point. You gotta win them in the first 30 seconds. If you lose them there, you might lose them for good. They may never come back. So you can't do that in a pitch. First, tell a story. Tell a story about the problem and tell a story about how you're gonna change that. For me at Vivino, I always told a story about how I walk into a supermarket, look at this wall of wine, don't know what I'm gonna buy, and then needed help for that. After that, you hit them in the face and tell them how massively big this can be. In Vivino's case, it wasn't that hard. Wine's a $300 billion industry. Nobody has really conquered it yet. No real tech player dominates that. They really like that. We now set the stage for the investors to be really interested for the rest of the pitch. So let's move on to step number 2. Step number 2, present the problem and a solution. This is the basic premise of any startup, and it never gets enough attention in a pitch. I think the reason is that we're so much into our problem and solution that we forget to tell the story. There is a problem, and this is the solution. If you lose the investor at this point, if they don't understand what you're doing, the entire premise of the pitch is gone. You cannot lose them here. You have to do it thoroughly and make sure they're with you. This is probably the most important part of the pitch. The problem. Explain thoroughly what the problem is and how the solutions out there don't solve the problem. Then show your solution. Show them what you're building and how that is better. This varies quite a bit on how far you are. If you're very early stage, show them mock-ups. If you built something, show that. Either way, be very visual. Show them what it looks like. Investors want to see what you're building. So be very visual. Whatever you have, show it. Maybe it's a mock-up, maybe it's screenshots, whatever it is. You might even have a live product and want to do a demo. Live demos are very compelling, but when you do them, plan it down to the smallest detail and practice it. No improvisation when you do a live demo. You know exactly what you're doing. They're compelling, but they can easily go wrong. The objective here is for the investors to understand the problem and the solution that you're building. If they have faith in that, the rest is going to be, do they have faith in you actually pulling this off? On that note, let's move on to step number 3. Step number 3, make sure you're investable. The mistake that a lot of founders do is they think that a great product, even a great product with traction, makes a great investment. It does not. A great product, a great market, a great team does not guarantee a great investment. For the investors, the premise is pretty simple. They want to put in some money and get more money back. When it comes to startups, they need to get a lot of money back. They're not looking to double their money in 5 years. They are looking to get their money back 5, 10 times, maybe even more. That does not make them greedy investors. They have to do this because it's so high risk. A lot of startups will disappear, and the ones that do well will need to make the money for those startups. So put yourself in the head of the investor. This has to be a great investment with a lot of upside. Now, what does that mean for your pitch? Well, it means you have to think big. You have to tell the investors that whatever you have now can become 5 times, 10 times, maybe 100 times, or even more of what you see today. So think big. In order to be big, you have to be scalable. The investors will look for that in your pitch. You have to have something that can be sold again and again. And usually the investment is spent on building something that you can keep selling. Let's say you do consulting. You sell services to your clients by the hour and charge them by the hour. Even if you work really, really hard, there are only 24 hours in a day. That by definition is not scalable. It's really, really hard for investors to invest in that type of business. On the other hand, you have a mobile game, you build it once and you can keep selling it. That by definition is very, very scalable. So scalability is about building something once and selling it again and again. Like a software or a service, something like that. Something where every time you sell it, there's very little extra cost. Being scalable is a requirement for getting an investment. So you have to make that very clear in your pitch. Most important takeaway is think big, be scalable. Let's move on to step number 4. Step number 4, make sure you cover everything. It is very important that you cover everything because if you forget something, the investor will probably ask about it. And when they ask about it, you won't be really well prepared to answer. So I've made a checklist of what needs to be in a pitch, so let's go through that. Motivation, why are you doing this? Problem, solution, product, traction, market, business model, revenue, team, fundraising plan, and objectives. Now, let's go through every single one and make sure we put the right stuff in there. Boom, boom, boom. The first 3, motivation, problem, and solution, we've already covered. So let's move on to traction. Traction means how's your startup doing? How many users are you getting? How many users do you have? How much revenue do you have? And so on. The objective here is pretty simple. Put whatever makes you look the best out there. Whatever graph, whatever it is that makes you look amazing, show them that. Next up is the market. This is important because the startup is only investable if the market is big enough. So the primary thing here is to show this is a massively big market and we can get a piece of it. Next up is business model and revenue. If you have it, show it and show how it's growing. Startups are all about growth, growth, growth. Now, you may very well be pre-revenue too. That's fine. Startups are built in many different ways. Vivino took a very long time before we started doing revenue. So if you're pre-revenue, keep the slide in there, but show them how you think you're going to make money once you get there. What is the business model that you see for this startup? Next up, there's the team. The team is incredibly important, especially in the early stages. Very often there's very little product, maybe no traction at all. So everything is about the faith in the team actually making this happen. Finally, there's the fundraising plan and objectives. Investor will need to know, hey, how are you going to spend this money? How are you going to invest this money? So on top of that, they will want to know what are the objectives, what goals do you want to reach with the money that's now being invested. Step number 5, understanding the psychology of a pitch. So now it's going to get deep. We're going to talk about psychology when pitching. We're getting back to the word that I mentioned in the beginning, the 4-letter word that most people don't know, but actually determines whether an investor will invest now or not. That word is FOMO, fear of missing out. So the primary reasons why they invest is FOMO, and more importantly, creating FOMO so they invest right now. Always remember that investors look at multiple companies at all times. They might be interested, but is there a sense of urgency to invest right now? And that's where FOMO comes in. If you don't create FOMO, they won't have to invest right now. They'll wait. It might never happen. So no FOMO, no investment. So with everything you do, try and build the FOMO. For instance, if you show a graph of your traction right now, make sure, hey, it ticks up a little bit right now, and tell the story. Look at this, it's happening right now. It's gonna explode from here. So always build and create FOMO. Be nice, be polite, but don't flatter the investor. Don't tell them they're the greatest investor ever, because if they're the greatest investor ever and they're the only investor you want, there's gonna be no fear of missing out. And no FOMO, no investment. Don't ask the investor directly what they think, do they want to invest, and so on. It makes you look desperate and kills FOMO. You always need to look like you have plenty of options. That creates FOMO. Always remember, money is just money. There's plenty of it out there, and there are a lot of investors looking for great startups. So money is just money. The other way around, there's only one you. There's only one startup like this particular one. That's really what creates FOMO, is the fact that, hey, guys, you have an opportunity to invest in this startup right now. That opportunity may never come back. What I did with Vivino when it comes to FOMO was always selling what's right around the corner. For instance, if you have a graph of growth, maybe there's a little bit of a jump in the numbers last month. You show it to them and say, hey guys, this is happening right now. There's clearly a new trend. It's gonna blow up from here. So sell them that it's gonna explode. This is your chance. That creates a lot of FOMO. So finally, they're just an investor like a lot of other investors, but there's only one you. That's important. So create FOMO, create lots of FOMO, and never kill FOMO. That's important. I think I've said FOMO enough by now. That's a lot of FOMOs. Step number 6, use very, very simple slides. You don't have to be a designer to create a very efficient pitch deck. Always remember, you're not a designer, you shouldn't be designing. Whatever you consider great design might not be amazing design. Take a look at these 2 slides, both from a Vivino deck. First, our mission to build the world's largest wine marketplace. Simple logo, white text on black background. Nothing fancy, but it works. Second one is about showing the product. Simple, just showing a few slides to show how the product works. Also very, very efficient. So keep the slides very simple, and here's some easy to apply advice when you build your deck. Very little text on each slide. If there's a bolded list, do 3, 4, 5, maximum 5 bullets and short text. You do not want your audience to read. If they read off your screen, you'll lose them. I generally don't recommend video. If they want to see a video, they can see it on YouTube or something. They're here to meet you and see you. If a video is very, very important to the pitch for some reason, then that's fine, but keep it in seconds, not minutes. Keep it consistent. Don't change the colors every other slide. Find a style and keep it that way. Keep one font, maximum 2, but try and stay in one font and only a few sizes. Keep it clean. The main purpose here is to communicate a message. And if that message doesn't come through clearly, you certainly have failed. So keep a big font. Make sure it's easy to read. No text on top of pictures. Every single slide must be easy to read, even by people pretty far away and with a poor eyesight. Make sure there's enough contrast between the text and whatever's behind. Generally, white text on black background works the best. And never ever use Comic Sans. Comic Sans is ugly. Everybody hates it. If you want to be disqualified right away, please do use Comic Sans. But don't do it. You won't be taken seriously ever after that day. Finally, here's a pro tip for you. Whenever you show a graph that's supposed to show growth, make it tall, not wide. Definitely not rocket science, but here's how it works. If you have text, put it next to it on the side, never under. Look at this, it looks a lot steeper. These small things, they do matter. Okay, there you have it. My 6-step process to building an amazing pitch deck. Hope it makes you feel a little bit more confident, helps you build an amazing pitch deck. So, if you like this content, if you want to see more like this, please do subscribe to my channel. Finally, I definitely want to hear from you. I want to hear about what kind of content you would like me to cover. If you have questions, let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.